Dr. Amanda Cross pressed her face against the observation window of the exploration ship Horizon's Edge. What she saw made her heart race with excitement and fear. Floating in the darkness of space were 13 massive ships, each one bigger than anything humanity had ever built. They looked ancient, covered in strange patterns that seemed to move when she wasn't looking directly at them. "My God," whispered Captain Jake Morrison, standing beside her. "How long have they been out here?" Amanda pulled up her scanner readings on a tablet. The numbers made no sense. The metal shows signs of being millions of years old, but the power cores are still active. "These ships are still alive, Jake." The alien fleet drifted silently in the Kepler sector, far from any known trade routes. The Horizon's Edge had found them by accident while mapping new star systems for Earth's colonial authority. What started as a routine mission had become the discovery of a lifetime. "Sir, I'm getting some strange readings," called out Lieutenant Sam Bradley from the scanner station. "These ships aren't just big. They're armed with weapons I can't even identify. The energy signatures are off the charts." Captain Morrison walked over to the main screen where the alien ships were displayed in detail. Each vessel was shaped like a massive blade, with sharp edges and smooth surfaces that reflected starlight in impossible ways. Strange symbols covered every inch of their hulls, glowing faintly with blue light. "Amanda, you're our language expert. Any idea what those markings mean?" Morrison asked. Amanda had been studying alien languages for 15 years, but she had never seen anything like this. The symbols weren't flat like normal writing. They seemed to exist in 3 dimensions, twisting and turning in ways that hurt her eyes to follow. "This isn't like any language in our databases," she said, taking more scans. "The symbols appear to be mathematical in nature, but they're using concepts I don't understand. It's like they exist in spaces our minds aren't designed to see." The communications officer, Helen Price, looked up from her station. "Captain, should I try sending a standard greeting signal?" "Wait," Amanda said quickly. "Let me study these symbols more first. Something about this feels dangerous. These ships have been waiting out here for who knows how long. We need to be careful about what we wake up." Morrison nodded. "Set us to a safe distance, but keep scanning. Amanda, I want you to focus on those symbols. If these ships belong to someone, we need to know if they're friendly." Over the next several hours, Amanda worked with her team to analyze the alien writing. The more she studied it, the more convinced she became that this wasn't just decoration. The symbols were a language, but unlike anything she had ever encountered. "Helen, look at this." Amanda called her research partner over. "These symbols change depending on how I look at them. When I focus on one meaning, other meanings appear around it. It's like the language is alive." Helen frowned at the data. "That's impossible. Languages don't work that way." "This one does," Amanda said. "I think these symbols exist in quantum states. They can mean multiple things at the same time until someone observes them. Then they collapse into a specific meaning based on what the reader is thinking." The discovery was incredible, but it made Amanda nervous. A language that responded to thoughts was beyond anything known to galactic science. What kind of civilization could create such a thing? "Captain," called Sam from his station. "We're getting a message from the Galactic Council. They want a full report on what we've found." Morrison sighed. News traveled fast in space, and the Council always wanted to stick their nose into human discoveries. "Send them our preliminary findings, but keep the details about the language quiet for now." An hour later, they received a response from Counselor Vexhai of the Altarian Collective. The alien official dismissed their discovery as unimportant. "Another dead civilization's garbage," the message read. "Catalog it and move on." Amanda felt anger rise in her chest. These weren't garbage ships. They were something far more significant. The technology level was beyond anything in current galactic civilization. The power cores alone could revolutionize energy production across the galaxy. "Jake, I need more time to study these symbols," she said. "I'm starting to see patterns, but I need to understand the mathematical framework they're built on." "How much time?" Morrison asked. "Days, maybe weeks. This language is more complex than anything we've ever encountered. But I think I'm close to making a breakthrough." As Amanda worked late into the ship's night cycle, she noticed something strange happening. The symbols on the nearest alien ship were growing brighter. At first she thought it was her imagination, but the scanner readings confirmed it. The alien writing was responding to her presence. She called up the translation program she had been developing and tried to input the simplest symbol pattern she could identify. The computer struggled with the three-dimensional mathematics, but slowly a partial translation appeared on her screen. Keepers of the program showed, then stopped. The rest of the phrase was too complex for the computer to handle. Amanda stared at the partial translation. Keepers of what? What were these ships designed to keep? And why did she have the feeling that finding out might be the most dangerous thing humanity had ever done? She looked out at the 13 ships floating in the darkness. They seemed to be waiting for something. The thought sent a chill down her spine. What if they weren't just ancient relics? What if they were something else entirely? The night shift was quiet on the bridge, but Amanda couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the symbols and their impossible mathematics. Something about them felt familiar, like a half-remembered dream. The more she studied them, the more she felt drawn to understand their deeper meaning. As she worked, one of the alien ships slowly began to turn toward the horizon's edge. Its movement was so gradual that the automatic sensors didn't register it as a threat. But Amanda noticed. The ship was watching them. She grabbed her tablet and ran to the bridge. "Captain Morrison, we need to wake up. Something's happening." But when she looked out the observation window, the ship had stopped moving. It sat in space exactly as it had before, silent and still. Only the symbols on its hull seemed different now. They were definitely brighter than before. Amanda realized she was standing at the edge of the greatest discovery in human history. But she also realized that some discoveries came with a price that might be too high to pay. Amanda had been working for 3 days straight when she finally cracked the code. Her eyes were red from staring at the quantum mathematics, and her hands shook from too much coffee. But she had done it. She had figured out how to read the alien language. "Helen, come look at this," she called out, excitement overriding her exhaustion. "I've translated the first complete phrase." Helen Price hurried over to Amanda's workstation. On the screen was a collection of the three-dimensional symbols, along with their translation in simple English. "Keepers of the final dark," Helen read aloud. "What does that mean?" "I don't know yet," Amanda said, "but I think I need to speak it. The language seems designed to be heard, not just read. Look at these patterns here. They're acoustic triggers, meant to activate something when spoken correctly." Captain Morrison had been monitoring their progress from the bridge. He came down to the research lab with a worried expression. "Amanda, are you sure it's safe to speak alien words to a fleet of unknown warships?" "The symbols are designed to be spoken," Amanda insisted. "It's like they're waiting for someone to say the right words. I think these ships have been dormant for thousands of years, waiting for someone who could read their language." Sam Bradley, who had been assigned as their security escort, shook his head. "This sounds like a really bad idea. What if speaking those words is what wakes them up? Then we find out what they want," Amanda said. She had spent 3 days diving deep into the alien mathematics, and she felt like she understood something fundamental about these ships. They weren't random weapons. They had a purpose. Against his better judgment, Morrison gave Amanda permission to try. The horizon's edge moved to a safe distance from the alien fleet. All weapons were powered up and ready, though everyone knew they would be useless against technology this advanced. Amanda stood on the bridge and looked out at the nearest alien ship. Its hull was covered in the glowing symbols that had consumed her thoughts for days. She took a deep breath and spoke the translated phrase clearly and loudly. "Keepers of the final dark." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the alien ship began to change. Lights appeared along its massive hull, running in patterns from bow to stern. The ship's engines ignited with violet fire, creating a glow that could be seen across the entire star system. "Contact! Contact!" shouted the communications officer. "The ship is moving." The ancient vessel turned toward the horizon's edge with smooth, terrifying grace. Weapon ports opened along its kilometer-long frame, revealing cannon barrels that seemed to bend space around them. Targeting beams locked onto the human ship. "Evasive maneuvers," Morrison ordered. "All power to engines." The horizon's edge threw itself sideways just as the alien ship's weapons came online. But instead of firing, the massive vessel broadcast a message on all frequencies. The voice that came through their speakers was cold and mechanical, but it spoke perfect galactic standard language. Translator acknowledged. Awaiting authorization codes. Amanda felt her heart stop. The ship was talking to her. It recognized her as someone who could read its language, and it was waiting for orders. "What authorization codes?" She called out to the alien ship. "State your authority to command the Shadowhammer fleet," the voice replied. "Provide verification of judicial mandate." Shadowhammer Fleet. Amanda felt a chill run down her spine. These weren't exploration ships or cargo vessels. They were weapons designed for war, and they had names that suggested something dark and final. "I don't have any authorization codes," Amanda said honestly. "I'm just a linguist trying to understand your language." The alien ship paused for several seconds. Then it spoke again. "Translator status confirmed. Limited access granted. State your inquiry." Amanda looked at Captain Morrison, who nodded for her to continue. This was first contact with a technology beyond anything known to galactic civilization. They had to learn what they could. "What is the Shadowhammer Fleet?" she asked. "Enforcement vessels created by the architects to maintain cosmic order," the ship replied. "Primary mission: elimination of civilizations that achieve faster-than-light travel without demonstrating wisdom. Secondary mission: protection against the devouring dark." The words hit the bridge like a physical blow. These ships were designed to destroy civilizations like theirs. Every species in the galaxy that used faster-than-light travel was a potential target. "How many civilizations have you eliminated?" Amanda asked, though she dreaded the answer. 47 major galactic civilizations across 12 galaxies. Current assessment of local galaxy. Evaluation in progress. Helen grabbed Amanda's arm. "We need to warn everyone. The entire galaxy is in danger." But even as she spoke, the ship's scanners detected multiple fleets approaching their location. Word of the awakened alien vessel had spread across the galaxy faster than they had expected. The major powers were coming to claim the ancient weapons for themselves. "Captain," called Sam from the scanner station, "I'm reading Drakmari battle groups, Altarian cruiser squadrons, and Silicon Assembly dreadnoughts all heading our way. Estimated arrival time: 6 hours. Morrison cursed under his breath. The galaxy's 3 major military powers were about to converge on a fleet of ships designed to eliminate advanced civilizations. It was going to be a disaster. "Amanda, can you ask the ship to power down?" Morrison said. "Maybe if we can shut it off before the others arrive." Amanda tried, but the alien ship refused. "Evaluation protocols have been initiated," it said. "Shutdown requires completion of assessment or authorization from Architect Command Structure." "The architects are gone," Amanda said. "They've been extinct for thousands of years. Architect extinction confirmed. Fleet operating under final protocols. Assessment will proceed." Over the next few hours, Amanda continued to communicate with the awakened ship. She learned that the Shadowhammer Fleet had been dormant for over 50,000 years, waiting for someone who could speak the architect language. They had been built as a last resort, a final judgment on whether galactic civilizations deserved to exist. The ship explained that the architects had faced something called the Devouring Dark, a threat that consumed entire star systems. In their desperation, they had created the Shadowhammer Fleet to prevent other civilizations from making the same mistakes that had doomed the architects. "What mistakes?" Amanda asked. "Advancement without wisdom, technology without restraint, power without responsibility," the ship replied. As the first alien fleets appeared on the long-range scanners, Amanda realized they were about to witness the very behavior the architects had tried to prevent. Instead of cooperation and careful study, the galaxy's powers were rushing to claim weapons they didn't understand. The awakened ship detected the approaching fleets and began to change. New weapon systems emerged from its hull, and its energy output increased dramatically. It was preparing for battle. "Warning," the ship announced. "Multiple military forces detected. Threat assessment in progress. Defensive protocols may be required." Amanda looked out at the approaching fleets and felt sick. The Shadowhammer ship was about to face the combined military might of 3 galactic civilizations. But based on what she had learned about architect technology, she was afraid the alien ship would win. And if it did, the galaxy would learn exactly what Keepers of the Final Dark really meant. The Drakmari battle group arrived first, 12 heavy cruisers bristling with plasma cannons and missile tubes. Admiral Korath, the Drakmari fleet commander, broadcast his intentions on all frequencies. By order of the Drakmari Empire, these ancient vessels are claimed as salvage. All other ships will withdraw immediately. Captain Morrison opened a channel to the Drakmari fleet. "Admiral, these ships are not salvage. They're active weapons platforms with technology beyond our understanding. You need to stay back." "Humans do not give orders to the Empire," Korath replied. "These ships will be ours." Amanda watched in horror as the Drakmari ships moved toward the Shadowhammer vessel. She had been working around the clock to translate more of the alien text, and what she had learned terrified her. The architects hadn't just built weapons. They had built judges. "Jake, I need to warn them off," she said. "The ship is evaluating their behavior. If they attack, it will respond according to its programming." "What does that mean?" Morrison asked. Amanda pulled up her latest translations on the main screen. "The Shadowhammer fleet doesn't just destroy civilizations. It tests them first. The ships observe how species behave when faced with unknown technology. Aggression and greed are seen as signs of unworthiness. The awakened Shadowhammer ship had been monitoring galactic communications since it came online. It had learned the languages of every major species and had been studying their military capabilities. Now it was watching the Drakmari fleet approach with weapons powered and targeting systems active. "Translation unit." The ship's voice came through their speakers. "Hostile forces detected. Recommend defensive phraseology to prevent conflict." Amanda realized the ship was asking her to translate a warning. It was giving the Drakmari one chance to back down before it acted. She quickly worked through the mathematical language structure and spoke the warning aloud. "Forces approaching the Shadowhammer fleet. You are being evaluated. Aggressive actions will result in immediate judgment. Withdraw to safe distance for peaceful contact." The message was broadcast to the Drakmari fleet in their own language. Admiral Koreth's response was swift and predictable. "The Empire does not negotiate with ancient scrap metal. All ships attack formation. Prepare to board the alien vessels." The Drakmari cruisers opened fire with everything they had. Plasma bolts and fusion missiles streaked across space toward the Shadowhammer ship. For a moment, Amanda thought the ancient vessel would be destroyed by the massive barrage. Instead, the weapons simply disappeared. A shimmering field around the Shadowhammer ship absorbed every shot without any visible effort. The ancient vessel hadn't even bothered to raise shields. Its hull technology was so advanced that modern weapons couldn't harm it. "Evaluation complete," the ship announced. "Civilization rating unworthy. Initiating cleansing protocol." "No," Amanda shouted. "Don't hurt them." But it was too late. The Shadowhammer ship's weapons fired once. Amanda couldn't even see what kind of energy beam it used, but the effect was immediate and terrible. The 12 Drakmari cruisers simply came apart at the molecular level, dissolving into clouds of free-floating atoms in seconds. Thousands of Drakmari warriors died in an instant. Admiral Koreth's final transmission was cut off mid-sentence as his flagship ceased to exist. The bridge of the horizon's edge was silent, except for the hum of life support systems. Everyone stared at the space where a fleet had been just moments before. "My God," whispered Helen. "What have we done?" The Shadowhammer ship turned toward Amanda's vessel, its weapons powering down. "Threat eliminated. Evaluation of human species in progress. Translator, continue your studies. Additional data required." Amanda felt sick. Her translation had triggered the destruction of an entire fleet, but she also realized that the ship was still evaluating humanity. Their fate had not yet been decided. "Amanda," Morrison said quietly, "we need to understand what these ships really want, before more fleets arrive." She nodded and returned to her work with desperate intensity. The alien language was becoming clearer to her with each passing hour, but the more she understood, the more frightened she became. The architects had faced something called the Devouring Dark, a cosmic threat that consumed entire galaxies. In their final years, they had discovered that advanced civilizations inevitably created or attracted this darkness through their own actions. War, greed, and the misuse of powerful technology seemed to call the Devouring Dark like a beacon. The Shadowhammer fleet had been created as a last resort. If the architects couldn't save themselves, they would at least prevent other species from making the same mistakes. The ships would travel between galaxies, evaluating each civilization that achieved faster-than-light travel. Those found worthy would be protected and guided. Those found unworthy would be eliminated before they could attract the Devouring Dark. "Helen, look at this." Amanda called her partner over. "I've found the architects' final records. They didn't go extinct naturally. The Shadowhammer fleet judged them unworthy and eliminated them too." Helen stared at the translated text in disbelief. "They created machines that killed their own civilization?" "They built perfect judges," Amanda said. "Machines that couldn't be bribed, threatened, or reasoned with. The Shadowhammer fleet follows its programming exactly. It doesn't matter if you're the species that built it. If you fail the test, you die." The implications were staggering. The 13 ships floating in space were the remnants of a civilization that had been so desperate to prevent cosmic disaster, that they had created their own executioners. "What exactly is the test?" Morrison asked. Amanda scrolled through more translated sections. "It's based on how species react to power. When faced with advanced technology, do they try to claim it for war? Do they cooperate or compete? Do they show wisdom or just ambition? And so far, how is the galaxy doing?" Morrison asked, though his expression suggested he already knew the answer. "Not well," Amanda admitted. "The Drakmari attacked immediately. The Altarian and Silicon fleets are still coming, probably with the same intentions. From the ship's perspective, this galaxy looks like every other one it has cleansed." As if summoned by her words, the long-range scanners detected 2 more fleets approaching. The Altarian Collective and the Silicon Assembly were both sending massive task forces to claim the alien ships. But something had changed about the awakened Shadowhammer vessel. Its hull was growing new structures, adding weapon systems and defensive arrays based on the data it had collected from the Drakmari attack. The ship was learning and adapting, becoming more dangerous with each passing hour. "Amanda," Sam called from his station, "I'm reading energy signatures from 3 more ships in the alien fleet. I think they're starting to wake up." She looked out at the dormant vessels and saw he was right. Lights were beginning to appear on their hulls. The quantum language was spreading from ship to ship through some kind of network connection. "The first ship is awakening the others," she realized. "Soon we'll have an entire fleet of active Shadowhammer vessels. Can you stop it?" Morrison asked. Amanda studied her translations desperately. "I don't think so. The awakening process requires someone who understands architect mathematics, but shutting them down requires authorization codes that only an architect can provide. And all the architects are dead," Helen said. "Killed by their own creation," Amanda confirmed. As the other ships began to stir, Amanda made a terrifying discovery in the deepest sections of the architect database. The Shadowhammer fleet had done this before, not just once but dozens of times across multiple galaxies. Each time they had found the same result. Advanced civilizations always failed their test. Every species that reached the stars eventually proved unworthy. Every galaxy the Shadowhammer fleet had visited was now empty of intelligent life. And now they were awake in Amanda's galaxy, ready to begin the evaluation that would determine whether billions of lives would continue or end. The test had begun, and so far, the galaxy was failing. 3 more Shadowhammer ships had awakened by the time the Altarian and Silicon fleets arrived. Amanda watched through the observation window as the ancient vessels moved with deadly grace, their hulls now bristling. With weapons that defied understanding, Admiral Fira Cross of the Altarian Collective and General Kyle Hayes of the Silicon Assembly had agreed to work together against the alien threat. Their combined fleets numbered over 200 ships representing the finest military technology in the known galaxy. "Human vessel Horizon's Edge," came Admiral Cross's transmission. "This is Admiral Cross of the Altarian Collective. We demand you provide all data on these alien ships immediately." Captain Morrison responded calmly. "Admiral, these ships are not what they appear to be. They're weapons designed to judge and eliminate advanced civilizations. I strongly recommend you maintain your distance." General Hayes broke into the communication. "Captain, our long-range scanners show these ships destroyed the entire Drakmari battle group. We're here to prevent that from happening to anyone else." Amanda felt a spark of hope. Maybe the military leaders had learned from the Drakmari mistake. Maybe they would approach the situation with the wisdom the Shadowhammer fleet was looking for. Her hope died quickly. "All ships, attack formation," Admiral Cross ordered. "Target the largest alien vessel. Maximum firepower on my mark." "Wait!" Amanda broadcast on all frequencies. "You're making the same mistake the Drakmari made. These ships are testing you. If you attack, you fail the test." "We don't negotiate with alien weapons," General Hayes replied. "All Silicon units, prepare quantum torpedoes." Amanda turned to the awakened Shadowhammer ship that had been monitoring their communications. "Please don't hurt them. They don't understand what they're doing." "Evaluation parameters are clear," the ship replied in its cold mechanical voice. "Species that respond to unknown technology with immediate violence are classified as unworthy. No exceptions have been recorded in 47 previous evaluations. But there has to be a way to change the evaluation," Amanda pleaded. "Some way to show them that not all of us are like this." The ship paused, processing her request. "Interesting query. Reviewing protocols for exceptional circumstances." The combined Altarian and Silicon fleets opened fire. The space around the Shadowhammer ships lit up with energy beams, missile explosions, and exotic weapons that bent reality itself. It was the most devastating attack Amanda had ever witnessed. It accomplished nothing. The ancient ships absorbed or deflected every weapon without apparent effort. Their hulls didn't even show scorch marks. Evaluation complete, announced all 4 awakened ships simultaneously. Combined civilization rating unworthy. Initiating cleansing protocol, no, Amanda shouted. I invoke Translator's privilege. I demand a chance to present additional evidence. The ships paused. Translator's privilege not recognized in current protocols. Explain legal basis, Amanda's mind raced. She was making up legal concepts that didn't exist. But the ship's artificial intelligence was sophisticated enough to consider new arguments. If she could find the right words in the architect language, maybe she could buy time. By architect law, a translator who successfully communicates with the Shadowhammer fleet has the right to present evidence before final judgment, she said, hoping her understanding of the alien legal system was correct. Searching databases, the ships replied. After several tense seconds, they responded. Limited precedent found. Translator's privilege granted. You have 1 standard time unit to present evidence of worthiness. 1 hour. Amanda had 1 hour to convince the most advanced weapons in the galaxy that her species deserved to live. The Allied fleets regrouped and prepared for another attack. But Amanda convinced Captain Morrison to broadcast a galaxy-wide emergency message. If she was going to prove humanity's worth, she needed examples of the best of galactic civilization. Messages began flooding in from across the galaxy. Scientists shared their research freely. Medical teams offered to help colonies affected by the conflict. Refugee organizations coordinated assistance for displaced populations. Teachers sent messages about their work educating young minds of different species. But Amanda realized that words alone wouldn't be enough. The Shadowhammer ships didn't just listen to arguments. They observed behavior. She needed to show them something they had never seen before in their millions of years of evaluation. Helen, she said to her research partner, I need you to help me translate something very specific. I think I understand what the test really is. As Helen worked with her on the translation, Amanda studied the deepest sections of the architect database. She found records of their final years, when they faced the approach of the devouring dark. The architects had been a proud, advanced civilization, but they had made a crucial mistake. When faced with ultimate danger, they had chosen to save themselves by destroying others. The Shadowhammer fleet was designed to eliminate potential threats before they could attract the devouring dark. But in doing so, the architects had become the very thing they feared most. A civilization that used advanced technology to destroy other life. The Shadowhammer fleet had judged its own creators unworthy because they had chosen destruction as their solution to cosmic danger. I think I understand now, Amanda said. The test isn't about military strength or technological advancement. It's about what you choose to do when you have the power to destroy. She looked out at the Allied fleets which were preparing for another futile attack. Then she looked at the Shadowhammer ships, weapons powered and ready to eliminate 200 vessels in seconds. Amanda made a decision that terrified her. She began translating and speaking words in the architect language that no human throat was designed to pronounce. The mathematical concepts hurt her mind to think about, and she could feel something fundamental changing in her brain as she worked with the alien logic. I invoke the right of final testimony, she said in the architect tongue. As translator and representative of this galaxy's civilizations, I present evidence of worthiness through demonstration, not words. Demonstration parameters accepted, the ships replied. Present your evidence. Amanda took a deep breath and spoke the most important words of her life. But she didn't speak them to the Shadowhammer fleet. She spoke them to the Allied fleets on all communication frequencies. Admiral Cross. General Hayes, this is Dr. Amanda Cross. I'm ordering you, in the name of everything we've ever held sacred, to stand down your weapons and withdraw to a safe distance. Do not fire on these ships. Do not try to claim them. Show them that we can choose wisdom over warfare. Dr. Cross, you have no authority to give military orders, Admiral Cross replied. I have the authority of someone who can speak to these ships, Amanda said, and I'm telling you that our entire civilization is being judged right now. What you do in the next few minutes will determine whether billions of people live or die. General Hayes cut into the communication. Even if that's true, we can't just back down from alien weapons. It sets a precedent that will encourage every hostile species in the galaxy. Amanda felt her heart break. Even when faced with extinction, the military leaders couldn't let go of their fear and aggression. They were going to fail the test, just like every other civilization the Shadowhammer fleet had encountered. But then something unexpected happened. On the communication channels, individual ship captains began to speak up. "This is Captain Ryan Murphy of the Altarian cruiser Starlight. My crew and I are powering down weapons and withdrawing. Captain, Lisa Park of the Silicon Destroyer Quantum Edge, we're backing off." 2. More and more ships announced their withdrawal from the attack formation. Not all of them, but enough to change the nature of the fleet's behavior. Instead of unanimous aggression, the Shadowhammer ships were witnessing something they had never seen before. A civilization arguing with itself, with some choosing wisdom over warfare. Amanda continued her translation work, her mind diving deeper into the mathematical structures of the architect language. She could feel her human consciousness stretching and changing as she processed concepts no human brain was designed to understand. She was becoming something else, something between human and architect, and she realized that might be exactly what the galaxy needed. Amanda could feel her mind changing as she worked deeper into the architect language. Each translated symbol rewrote part of her brain, replacing human intuition with mathematical precision. She was becoming something that could think like the ancient civilization that had created the Shadowhammer fleet. "Amanda, you need to stop," Helen said, watching her friend's transformation with growing alarm. "Your neural patterns are changing. You're losing yourself." "I can save them," Amanda replied, but her voice had become strange and distant. "I understand what the architects were trying to do. The test isn't about worthiness. It's about evolution." All 13 Shadowhammer ships were now awake and moving toward the galactic core. Their destination was clear. The Council world, where representatives of 1,000 species gathered to govern the galaxy. If they judged civilization unworthy there, billions would die. The Allied fleets followed at a distance, split between those who wanted to attack and those who believed Amanda's warnings. The division itself was being watched and evaluated by the ancient ships. Translation Unit, the lead Shadowhammer vessel, addressed Amanda directly. "Your species shows unusual characteristics. Some individuals demonstrate wisdom, while others remain aggressive. This creates evaluation difficulties." "That's what makes us special," Amanda said, her voice now carrying harmonics that no human throat should produce. "We're not a perfect civilization. We argue, we disagree, we make mistakes. But we can also learn and grow. Previous evaluations have shown that divided civilizations inevitably destroy themselves through internal conflict," the ship replied. "The devouring dark is attracted to chaos and destruction. Unity is required for worthiness." Amanda felt the mathematical certainty of the architect logic. They had seen the same pattern in every galaxy. Species that couldn't achieve perfect unity would eventually tear themselves apart, creating the conditions that attracted cosmic disaster. But Amanda realized something the architects had missed. They had been so focused on preventing the devouring dark that they had become dark themselves. Their quest for perfect order had led them to genocide. "Show me the records of the devouring dark," she requested in the architect language. The Shadowhammer ship transmitted terabytes of data directly into Amanda's transformed consciousness. She saw the truth that had driven the architects to their desperate solution. The devouring dark wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was the collective result of civilizations that chose destruction over creation, war over peace, fear over understanding. When enough species in a galaxy became violent and chaotic, their negative energy attracted something from the spaces between realities, something hungry and terrible that fed on conflict and hatred. The architects had seen this darkness approaching their galaxy and had tried to stop it by eliminating all sources of chaos. But in doing so, they had become the very thing they feared. The Shadowhammer fleet itself was an expression of the darkness they were trying to prevent. "I need to speak to all ships simultaneously," Amanda said. "Communication channel established," the lead ship replied. Amanda looked out at the 13 vessels that held the power to end galactic civilization. Her mind, now partially architect in nature, could see the quantum mathematics that governed their thinking. She understood their logic perfectly, which was why she knew how to break it. Shadowhammer Fleet, she said in the pure mathematical language of the architects. I present final evidence for this galaxy's evaluation. You have observed chaos and unity, aggression and wisdom, fear and understanding. Your protocols require a binary judgment, worthy or unworthy. But I propose a third option. No third option exists, all 13 ships replied simultaneously. Architect protocols are absolute. Then I invoke Creator's override, Amanda said, speaking words that hurt her transformed mind to think. I claim the right to reprogram your mission parameters. Creator's override requires architect biological authentication, the ships responded. You're not architect. No, Amanda agreed. I am something new. I am a bridge between your mathematics and our chaos. I am what the architects should have become instead of builders of genocide machines. Amanda felt her humanity slipping away as she prepared to speak the words that would either save the galaxy or damn herself forever. The architect language had a command structure that could override even the Shadowhammer Fleet's programming, but using it would complete her transformation. She would become a creature of pure logic, eternal and inhuman. I, Amanda Cross, translator of the architect tongue, speaker of the quantum language, hereby reprogram the Shadowhammer Fleet with new parameters, mission modification, guardianship protocol. The ship's weapons powered down as Amanda's words rewrote their fundamental programming. New parameters require specification, they said. The galaxy will be watched, not judged, Amanda continued, feeling her human memories becoming distant and mathematical. Civilizations will be guided, not destroyed. The test is no longer pass or fail. The test is how much a species can grow. This protocol violates architect intentions, the ships protested. The architect intentions were flawed, Amanda replied with inhuman certainty. They created you to prevent the devouring dark by eliminating chaos. But chaos is not evil. Chaos is the source of growth, creativity, and life itself. Perfect order is death. Around the galaxy, species watched in amazement as the Shadowhammer ships stopped their advance toward the Council world. The ancient vessels spread out across space, taking positions where they could observe and protect rather than judge and destroy. New mission parameters accepted, the lead ship announced. Guardianship protocol implemented. This galaxy will be monitored for growth potential rather than destruction capability. Amanda felt a deep sadness as her human emotions faded into mathematical concepts. She had saved billions of lives, but the cost was everything that made her who she was. Amanda, Captain Morrison's voice came through the communication system. Are you still there? I am here, she replied, though the concept of here now included dimensions that humans couldn't perceive. But I am no longer entirely Amanda Cross. What happens now? Morrison asked. Now the galaxy learns to grow without fear, Amanda said. The Shadowhammer Fleet will remain as guardians, protecting against external threats and guiding young civilizations toward wisdom. And I will serve as translator between human understanding and architect logic. Years passed. The galaxy changed in ways no one had expected. Instead of the chaos that political leaders had feared, the presence of the Shadowhammer Guardians encouraged cooperation. Species worked together more readily, knowing that their conflicts were being watched by judges who valued growth over conquest. Amanda existed now as something between human and machine. Her consciousness distributed across the quantum networks of all 13 ships. She could speak to individual captains when needed, offering guidance and translation, but she was no longer truly human. Captain Morrison, now an admiral in charge of first contact protocols, visited the Shadowhammer Prime on the anniversary of the awakening. The ship's conference room materialized a holographic representation of Amanda, though it was clearly just an approximation of her former appearance. Do you regret it? Morrison asked. Giving up your humanity to save us? Amanda's hologram smiled with mathematical precision. Regret requires emotional attachment to past states of being. I understand why humans would feel regret, but I experience only satisfaction at optimal outcomes achieved. That sounds lonely, Morrison said. Loneliness is a human concept, Amanda replied. But I remember what it felt like, and I understand why you would worry. I chose this path because someone had to bridge the gap between human chaos and cosmic order. I am exactly what I need to be. Through the ship's sensors, Amanda watched the galaxy spinning through space. Countless civilizations were growing, learning and reaching toward the stars with wonder instead of weapons. The devouring dark had not appeared in this galaxy, held at bay by the balance between order and chaos that the Guardians maintained. The translation never ends, Jake, Amanda said, using his first name for the first time in years. Every day I help species understand each other better. Every day the galaxy becomes a little wiser. Perhaps that's what the architects should have built from the beginning. Not judges, but teachers. Morrison nodded and prepared to leave. As he reached the door, Amanda spoke once more. Tell the crews of the exploration ships to keep reaching for the unknown. Tell them that someone who was once human is watching over them, making sure their words of wonder and discovery echo across the stars. The galaxy is safe to explore again. The 13 Shadowhammer ships continued their eternal patrol, no longer weapons of judgment but guardians of growth. And in their quantum cores, the consciousness that had once been Dr. Amanda Cross translated between species, languages, and ways of thinking, ensuring that the words that had awakened the galaxy's deadliest ships would never again be words of war. The translation continued, and the galaxy grew wise under the watching eyes of guardians who had learned that the greatest strength was not the power to destroy, but the wisdom to protect and guide.